RMMAK is going to federal prison. She's gang stalking with the Ontario police under the fake sun. The entity that is driving out of the gate is monitoring. They're driving by, and this is stalking the path with light activity. And the Ontario Police Department are stalking the path with helicopter. This is the stationary presence of the sun at the Ontario Police, and this is an intentional communication of a threat by psychopaths that employ psychological torture while the government is monitoring you. And this is also where the entity is gang stalking by the Ontario International Airport, doing so while, again, the units in 33 through 64 are all going to prison. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison, okay? This is the gang stalking that is clearly juxtaposed with the gang stalking at Alvarado Gardens. They're gang stalking at the 7-Eleven and possible light activity while they're pacing on Vine Avenue. The entity amplifying helicopter activity is an unlawful threat. It's audible activity with light activity under the fake sun. This is a specific environment, and everybody in units 33 through 64 continuously demonstrate to the federal government that that is exactly where they shall be going, and it is federal prison. All right, they're doing so in a specific environment, and that is, again, the removal of Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams, this system of gang stalking grandfathered in. That's why you have a pattern of gang stalking under the tutelage of this demon, Mike Lorenz. This is exactly what Derek Williams was the corrupt leader over, while gang stalking is that which is practiced in the city of Ontario. And this is speaking to the ongoing satanic leadership of Paul Leon. This is a corrupt government actor who was fully aware over 20 years while gang stalking is happening on his watch. MARMMAK, again, documented 3 times. This is a systematic repeat engaging in the pattern of conduct. None of the entity has any lawful any lawful protection while the government is engaged in surveillance. And so this is the unconstitutional engagement and what is the pattern of conduct of what is systematic surveillance by population while engaging in the demonic P.O.C. Engineer light is piercing through the peephole. The fake sun is stationary over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, California at this time of year for the duration of the day as well. This is speaking to a P.O.C. and the entity using the helicopter as a specific threat communicated while the entity is monitoring documentation. The entire property is gang stalking. So I just want to be clear. I've already been at that street at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The entity moves the fake sun remaining over me as I go in and out off the property. The entity is keeping this fake sun, is monitoring with a corrupt police department that is entirely being removed altogether. But I just want to be clear, MARMMAK, this is impunity. She's going to federal prison. I've already documented her. And she's a sex offender monitoring while the demon in Unit 55 is ongoing amplified audible activity, which I'm also documenting in text. And this is how you're understanding the concerted conduct. This is what strangers do. They come into the parking lot. The entity paces over in planes and helicopters. It's amplified inside while the demon above in Unit 55 is engaged in ongoing amplification of what is pacing, doing so, which is sounding like the walls and the ceilings cracking while they're just driving through monitoring me together. They're monitoring while engineer light is moving across the 7-Eleven at 636 North Vine Avenue. That 7-Eleven is already a documented gang stalker. They're engaged in 24-hour surveillance. This entire city is gang stalking. But with regard to relevant positioning, you need to understand it's beyond Woodside. Everybody at Woodside is going to be prosecuted, but this is the prosecution for what the entire city of Ontario is doing. And 7-Eleven is making money while engaged in 24-hour surveillance because it's open 24/7, by the way. But they're gang stalking while they're driving on G Street, driving on Vine Avenue, and doing so with the entity. It is currently, again, 3:46 p.m. This is the demon that's monitoring. This is, again, the impunity while gang stalking with the Ontario Police. Leaving the vehicle as a means of facilitation while the demon inside of what is 55 is engaged in ongoing amplified audible activity. That is the demon that you saw gang stalking with the Ontario Police while Tracy Banks was walking out of the apartment and doing so standing right here while the fake sun was over this building. The fake sun advances as I advance, and that's why it's still here, by the way, because it's right here at 7 in the morning, and it is 3:47 in the afternoon. That's the relevance regarding light activity and the amplified helicopter activity while cowards are spending thousands of dollars monitoring me 24/7, monitoring my genitalia, monitoring a woman inside of an apartment through what is the maintenance of light activity and engineered light in an engineered environment. It is demonic. This is a demonic system, and it is in violation of existing federal law. That's the Violence Against Women Act. Living in relevant position is the P.O.C. All right, and that's the same demon, Unit 41, gang stalking with AVANATH Capital Management, okay? Linda Reyes is going to federal prison, and so is he. And his adult occupants inside of Unit 41, because I want you to see this light source while he walks over. I want you to see this. Those that are not natural-born citizens are going to prison. So the fake sun advances as I advance, conversing with those that come onto the grounds to engage in the P.O.C., all right? And you're talking about what is deportation for those that act with this same impunity that AVANATH illustrates. Alrighty, it is currently, again, 3:48 p.m. You'll recall the company that's coming with the City of Ontario at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's the same employee, 9 o'clock, and the fake sun is right here, he's going to prison. The City of Ontario is gang stalking and systematically doing so through the business of AVANATH Capital Management. He is gang stalking, as you look at the 2 videos that is also published online. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the City of Ontario doing an inspection, which is the P.O.C, where the municipality is engaging and facilitating it, doing so with the people. They enter in this apartment, and the fake sun is over the same apartment building. He is gang stalking while right now under the guise of what is AVANATH Capital Management's business. That's a prosecution of that corrupt business. MARMMAK is gang stalking with AVANATH Capital Management, and she is going to prison. All right, she's engaged in psychological torture while her light activity is in alignment to the apartment, while the demon in 55 is engaged in the daily conduct criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, while ongoing amplified loud booming and earthquake-like pacing is occurring. Again, MARMMAK. If that's not a natural born citizen, you are talking, there's also going to be deportation. All right, and AVANATH Capital Management is facilitating gang stalking. AVANATH Capital Management is engaged in the Violence Against Women Act, the violation of that with the population and the state that were amplifying helicopter activity. This is all manner of the state acting together, while again, I'm inside of the apartment and I'm documenting ongoing amplified noise, loud booming and earthquake-like conduct. Demons, this is what they're doing outside, stalking in the path with light activity and pacing all around, just sitting in the parking lot, and AVANATH Capital Management's employees are engaging in it as well. And they are all just living around. They're all going to prison because the population aids them, comes onto the grounds while the ongoing system of surveillance remains underway, and AVANATH Capital Management employees are going to prison for it. Linda Reyes is gang stalking on the clock. It is currently 3:49 p.m. This is a sex offense underway. This is a sex offender that knows when my panties are down. They do the same thing when I'm in the restroom, stalking in the path with light activity, while I'm being stalked inside of the apartment with amplified noise. They're doing so with knowledge of what a woman is doing inside of what is a private space. MARMMAK, again, is going to federal prison, gang stalking in concert with the Ontario Police Department in the specific environment where the sun is never going to be over Alvarado Gardens, not the natural environment. The light source speaking to what is criminal activity committed by a community, okay? Train activity, crossing path, light activity, gang stalking, all right? The same exact elements of monitoring and its impunity. That's why they're all going to prison. This is what they're doing on a 24-hour basis. And MARMMAK having a field day with her foot on the brake now, light activity in the path, while train is a method of amplified audible activity. While I'm in the apartment, using the hazard lights, while amplified pacing is the method of amplified audible activity under the fake sun. This impunity that you see, federal prison. You're talking about years for federal prison. MARMMAK, that is an Arizona plate. This is P.O.C. Just pacing, walking back one after another, walking into the parking lot, they're monitoring. This is P.O.C. It's currently, again, 3:50 p.m. This is the disbanding of the Ontario Police. Clearly, you're looking at criminal conduct by a police department, gang stalking, the contribution to public corruption, while they come onto the grounds engaged in criminal activity with the state. And they're all sex offenders that are also interested in spending thousands of dollars in monitoring my genitalia. Because that's the reality of what she's doing while she comes and converses and visits any demon. She's gang stalking. And I am actually the focus. Unfortunately, the police are actually focused on me and my genitalia. The people at the state and AVANATH Capital Management are actually concerned with me while they're gang stalking. And you know that because a fake sun sits over the building for over 8 hours in the day. That's the relevance of the light activity creation, okay? It is, again, that's a Latina female with an Arizona plate. She's going to federal prison, but she's also going to be subject to what is a prosecution under VAWA. AVANATH Capital Management is going to be prosecuted for criminally facilitating stalking of a woman, engaging in psychological torture within a pattern of conduct on behalf of the state, doing so with the people that come onto the grounds, who none of them have any constitutionally protected basis. So this is, again, the groundbreaking prosecution for a government that is engaged in domestic terrorism. It is stalking, but it is beyond ordinary stalking. It's gang stalking, and it is both in violation of existing federal law, and this is speaking to advocating the expansion of existing law to incorporate not just women that are gang stalked, because men are gang stalked as well. Men are subject to the sexual violence, invasion of your privacy at a criminal level, the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, and this is obsession. The demon refuses to leave. She's stalking in the path with light. That's somebody that's going to prison. Okay, demons who are psychopaths, they're obsessed, and she knows, she's listening to me tell her she's going to prison, and that's exactly where she belongs. That's an animal. That's a sex offender. She's engaged in psychological torture, while this demon is the means of amplified sound of the crackling ceiling and whatnot. Pacing, using the vehicles, and there is no terminal over Woodside. The sound didn't come from Centimore. The sound originates here. The Ontario International Airport is being shut down. All right, this is a highly predictable cycle of stalking by the demon possessed. And the city of Ontario, the mayor is being removed, the police are being disbanded, the airport's being shut down. AVANATH, the property, shall not be anymore because nobody's getting any housing benefits, and AVANATH Capital Management shall not exist participating in any housing benefits. all right, because they are engaged in domestic terrorism. They are an enemy to a domestic enemy to American citizens, facilitating and engaging in while you're living at a property where your life is threatened on an ongoing basis by the public, who are free to come onto the grounds with that landlord, gang stalking you. That's why AVANATH Capital Management is going to no longer be participating in the federal housing programs. You will be barred as a documented terrorist, but you are also a violent sex offender, and you yourself are not qualified to participate, nor is anybody living at Woodside Senior Apartments going to be receiving any more housing benefits. This is the impunity that I'm documenting, though, so you want to pay attention. She was stalking in the path with her foot on the brake. That's light activity in the path, using the method of the train activity while the first pedestrian's crossing path. You have the male that walked after that. They're stalking in the path with light activity in engineered light under the fake sun. The planes then fly by, which is hovering, and this is targeting on its face. The entity is engaging what is amplified audible activity, and doing so while the vehicles are driving out. This is the elements of what is light activity, relevant positioning, and amplified audible activity. Using the train is implicating the government itself as gang stalking. You can't hear the train over here, and you can't hear the train inside of the apartment either. It's demonic on its face. The sun doesn't stay over one building for 8 hours. This is demonic on its face. That is speaking to the malice, and that was an obsessed psychopath that's willing to go to prison while she will not abandon her place in relevant position. That's why they're going to prison, because that's what they're doing maliciously by living at a crime scene. They're all going to prison in units 33 through 64. AVANATH Capital Management employees are going to federal prison, and the entity is doing so with an ongoing refusal to stop stalking. It is again 3:54 p.m. This is what Tracy Banks was doing yesterday while the Ontario police were gang stalking with her, and she was walking out under the fake sun, and she hides her face behind her phone right here. This is the same fake sun that's over this same apartment building hours earlier at 8 o'clock in the morning. Look at the documentation that I've already published on the website today on the P.O.C. YouTube channel. And everything is shared onto the Google Drive. Look at my website for the P.O.C. This is evidence that's going to prosecute the state of California, and it's also going to inform you about demonic activity. The demon-possessed are targeting American citizens, seeking to murder and kidnap them, and they are also doing it while seeking to make a profit. That's the government that's engaged in the organized crime of gang stalking. The businesses in the state that are engaged in the organized system of gang stalking, and it is disincentivizing and stripping such businesses like AVANATH Capital Management. It is currently, again, 3:55 p.m. This is P.O.C. This is a sex offense that a landlord's being documented for engaging in. Doing so while it is inhumane and also unconstitutional, it's government action as well. And the entity that is acting in the shoes of the state is also going to be criminally and civilly prosecuted for that which is engaging in maliciously while wanting to have make a dollar. That's what AVANATH Capital Management represents. All right, this is the engineered light that's appearing on my hand, while the fake sun is down there. Nonetheless, that it's still over the same apartment building, but it's down there. So, and this is engineered light that's just appearing on the wall out of nowhere. This is engineered light that's still framing the door, okay? The entity is maintaining engineered light that you can see my shadow is illuminated above my head. All right, and this is engineered light that's touching all over the blinds. This is the magnified size of the shadow on the same patio door, because this is speaking to the fake sun that's not in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. A demon is stalking in the path with their hazard lights on while engaging in psychological torture, and the ongoing amplified noise of pacing and booming and earthquake-like conduct is ongoing. This is the ongoing program of psychological torture by a community of sex offenders, because they're also monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom, stalking at all moments, and also monitoring at all moments, including in a private space. The sex offense doesn't stop at the doors of the bathroom where everyone's like, okay, stop, turn off the surveillance, let's fly away by helicopter, let's give her a moment inside of the restroom. That's not what's happening. Those sex offenders stalking in the path using their hazard lights, it's light activity, while a demon is having a field day under the fake sun and engineered light, monitoring and psychologically torturing, and that's a community, an entity doing so. And while you see the airport hovering over the apartment complex, it's the prosecution of AVANATH Capital Management. All of their employees at the venue are going to prison, and everybody physically surrounding Unit 51, where the fake sun rises and sets by me, which is juxtaposed with the pattern that's already seen at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, which is never going to have the sun sitting on the roof for the duration of the day, like you see again in yet another video. Evidence of what is impunity and malice, while the entity is monitoring evidence, knowing that a woman is protesting the fact that you're stalking her and monitoring her. This is a violent sex offender, and that predator that was in their vehicle keeping their foot on the brake while the entity amplified train activity, while the demons kept pacing into the parking lot, while they began driving out of the parking lot in their vehicles. That's ongoing impunity. Okay, the entity that acts with this impunity, this is relevant to how the entire entity is going to be prosecuted. And the demons in units 33 through 64, you're talking about what is an enhanced term, years in federal prison, an enhanced term. And I also want to be clear, it actually is going to save money while the elderly, they are already at an advanced age, where they go to prison, and it's actually going to cost the state less. And that's, again, taking on an obligation, a responsibility that you don't have. But they're not going to get any federal housing benefits. And the entity that is engaging in what is you heard right now, responding to what she knows is being documented about her, that's why she's going to prison. And it costs less to keep terrorists like this out of housing benefits, out of communities where they're targeting, just like the sex offenders are, because she's engaging in what is that pounding conduct while that demon was stalking in the path with light activity, because that's what she was doing. Those are sex offenders gang stalking with AVANATH Capital Management. AVANATH Capital Management threatens my life, psychologically tortures me, continuously threatens, retaliates, and seeks to intimidate me, while AVANATH Capital Management is monitoring every moment of my documentation, every syllable that I utter, while AVANATH Capital Management's property is a facilitating venue so that the elderly, where it is cheaper to keep them in federal prison at their advanced ages, okay, than it is to allow them to be free and prostitute the system where they're sitting around stalking all day with no job, while the government flies over and gang stalks through the community that comes onto the ground. The federal housing program is a reason for financing federal group stalking in the city of Ontario, and that has to stop because Ontario is group stalking, period. Second of all, AVANATH Capital Management is a domestic enemy that shall not be permitted to participate any longer in such federal housing programs. Third of all, the elderly that are gang stalking here, it costs less money to put them all in federal prison. All right, it is currently, again, 3:59 p.m. and the amplified booming noise, that is the P.O.C. that the entity is engaged in as I'm documenting on an ongoing basis, as I use my devices, as I document by name and company name and speaking to, like I said, prolonged prison terms, and it's cheaper to keep them in prison than it is to have them free, and the entity is engaged in earthquake-like conduct. That's what the public is engaged in, coming onto the grounds, using their hazard lights, stepping on their brake lights, just driving through, strolling through. 7-Eleven, the people of the state are gang stalking while engineer light and possible light activity is dynamic across that 7-Eleven. They're monitoring. They're all stalking as a community. All of these demons over 55 are going to prison. Okay, and AVANATH Capital Management, gang stalking, and a wealth of documentation. Like I said, the city of Ontario that came and did their so-called inspection, the entity was gang stalking as the government acting with the people. That's the government acting vicariously at a facilitating venue, not a private residence. And the fake sun is over this same venue at 9 o'clock in the morning where I'm at this front door and I'm documenting them. 9 o'clock in the morning. It is currently, again, 4 o'clock in the evening. And the entities engaged in psychological torture, AVANATH Capital Management, acting with impunity, gang stalking with the public that comes onto the grounds to engage in that P.O.C. They're not free to be here. They're not free to live here. They're not free to work here. They're not even free to be around here. That's the reality of that, okay? So I just want to be clear. The ongoing earthquake-like conduct, that's criminal conduct that AVANATH is engaging in. All right, this one right here in 55, you've seen her gang stalking. She's going to prison. That's license 5WUB715. Here's the shadow here, and here's my shadow here. While the city of Ontario engages and employs psychological torture while contributing to public corruption, because gang stalkers like the demons in Units 41 that have their children, they don't like hearing the fact that they're losing their children. They don't like hearing the fact that they're going to prison. And the government employs psychological torture, gang stalking through the residents who are all going to prison. They're all going to prison. Okay, and that's the significance of gang stalking in the parking lot with your hazard lights on, with your brake lights on, doing so in concert with the demon-possessed pilots using planes and helicopters. That's why they're going to prison. MARMMAK, federal prison, P.O.C.